Episode 9 is all set and ready to combine all the Skywalker saga films into one big Star Wars movie by J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, one thing that Episode 9 does have going for it is the fact that it will be combining all elements from the prequels, the originals, some elements from Star Wars Rebels, and even cherry-picking from both the EU and Legends material. It seems as though that this movie is trying to attract all Star Wars fans around the world, whether you're into comics, video games, the animated series like the Clone Wars and Rebels, or if you're just into the films themselves. This movie is trying to cater to everybody, it seems, and I guess that's a good thing by Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, looking at Star Wars Episode 9 specifically, these past couple of days or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art and storyboard descriptions, etc. One of which has all to do with both Luke, Han, and Ben Solo. Specifically, a description of Luke Skywalker in front of a temple-like structure, similar to the one seen in The Last Jedi. There is a rear shot of Luke. In front of him stands the shadowy figure of Han Solo in his traditional vest, implying that he could be younger here and that this is indeed a flashback. Next to Han Solo is Ben in Jedi-like clothing. The next goes over Han and Luke talking to each other. Han here doesn't have gray hair, rather it's salt and pepper hair. Luke has the beard like on Crate and is in his ceremonial robes. The last describes Han Solo walking away from both Luke and Ben, and boarding the Falcon with Chewbacca standing on top of the ramp. The Falcon flies off toward one of the moons actually going around this planet. So, one thing that really does interest me for sure is exactly why would both Han and Ben be on this planet with Luke Skywalker? Is this the location of Luke's Jedi temple that we saw so briefly in The Last Jedi? The reason as to why I'm not quite sure if that would make sense is because if you guys read The Last Jedi novelization and really research it deeply, you will learn that Luke kept that actual planet, the location of his temple, a complete secret to everybody except for his students. So I don't even think Leia knew. He didn't really tell anybody, so I'm not quite sure if this is the same location of Ben Solo training with his uncle Luke Skywalker in front of the Jedi Temple. This could be, however, another temple that both Han and Ben meet Luke at. It's possible. Now, we do know that there's a lot to fill in between the events of Return of the Jedi and, of course, Star Wars The Force Awakens. There is a lot to tell there that can be done, either in the form of flashbacks or comics, video games, novels, books. I mean, the list goes on, really. They can really expand that whole entire timeline of Star Wars that I think is just so interesting because I love the characters of Han, Leia, and Luke, and I just want to learn more about them, of what happened after the events of Return of the Jedi, something that was heavily explored in the EU. So, looking at Episode 9, the use of flashbacks, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel that if you're going to bring Han Solo back into play in Episode 9 in some way, shape, or form, even if it's going to be like a 20-second or a 10-second sequence, whatever it may be, if he's in the shadows and it's not Harrison Ford, I don't know how that would really fly or feel with a lot of the Star Wars fans out there. To me, I feel like if you're getting Han Solo back, bring Harrison Ford back, period. You know, if you're bringing back Han Solo, bring Harrison Ford back. It seems like they're trying to toy around with the idea of bringing back Han into a flashback sequence for Episode 9. And honestly, I'm really crossing my fingers that this makes it to the finalized version of the movie, because then we would learn more about the events after Return of the Jedi and before Luke technically was how he was in The Force Awakens. And that is a timeline that I think a lot of fans, including myself, want to learn more and more about. You know, the rise of the First Order, the whole entire conflict between both Ben and Luke, Han Solo and Leia having their issues, how they had an impact on their son turning to the dark side because they neglected him as a child. I mean, there's so much to really talk about in that timeline that just hasn't been explored yet. So I feel that if Disney and Lucasfilm kind of just touch on it so lightly in Episode 9, that it would be fantastic for a lot of Star Wars fans out there, just to get a little bit of a sense of that father and son element in a Star Wars film before they quote-unquote, didn't really get along, per se. I think that Han and Ben, we should definitely see a good side to their relationship as, being father and son. I would love that. I would love to see that, because that side of the story would be very interesting to see on the big screen. Again, though, like I say, they could, if they actually do get this past the concept and storyboard stage, they could just get somebody else to play Han Solo, put his face in the shadows, and maybe they'll use some dialogue from Harrison Ford in order to dub that over and talk to Luke as, being portrayed by Mark Hamill. Not quite sure how they would do that and make it really fly with a lot of the Star Wars fans and how fans would accept that, not quite sure. But nonetheless, guys, we heard about this lightly a couple of days ago, and it seems like they're really trying to test the waters of bringing back some of our favorite classic characters. I remember there was a time when Harrison Ford was on Jimmy Kimmel, where Jimmy asked him, would you be willing to return? Are you going to return? And he did like the, zipping my lips gesture, where he crossed the hand around his lips and he was kind of hinting at things. Nobody knew what Harrison Ford meant. Was he just joking around? Did he really mean something there? Was that a hint of his involvement in Episode 9? We really don't know, but we'll see. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.